that something just might change your life and actually make a damn difference in my life.
You're going to want to pay attention to this one.
Hey everybody, David Nagel. You're going to love this episode.
So again, the idea is that we live in truth. We live in truth. It's really important to understand. Some people were asking if I would talk a little bit more about spirit and such, that the idea is that we all have this spiritual energy that's moving to and through us. And it becomes the exact replicate of our outside world as what's going on the inside, whether we're conscious of it or not. So what are we really doing? What are we really doing? Well, one of the things that we're doing is trying to teach ourselves how to think accurately, which takes time. It takes dedication. It's not something that happens overnight. I've repeatedly said you take your age and you look at how many years you've been on this planet. That's how many years of programming that you have. And you're constantly being inundated with a verification of that programming because your eyes see what your perception tells your eyes to see. You don't, the old saying, you don't see things as they are, you see things as you are. That's very, very true. So if we're going to change the way we see things, if we're going to change opportunities, if we're going to change results, we have to change how we see things so that we can see the truth in the things that are outside of us, so that we have different options to make different choices to create the life that we want. And it's a lot of work. You'll do it for the rest of your life if you're really dedicated to it. So inside of that idea, we're creating a division. It's a split of consciousness, okay? And you could call it spirit consciousness, universal consciousness, Christ consciousness, Krishna consciousness, whatever you want to call it. It is a split in consciousness. And the hard part for us is that we do have everything that's going outside in our own personal worlds constantly reflecting things that are contrary to the way that we're learning to think. So when we're doing this, from the moment that you wake up to the moment you go to bed, you're taking in information through your five senses. You see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. Those senses are constantly relaying information into your conscious mind, where then your subconscious mind, which is on complete autopilot 24 hours a day, is telling your conscious mind how to think about what you're experiencing, the information that is coming in. Your subconscious mind tells your conscious mind how to think about it, unless you override, while you're awake, your subconscious thought, and you choose to think a different thought about what you're thinking.
I don't know if I ever told you this story before, but when I was in the 7-year period that I was studying, it became obvious to some of my friends that things were changing for my life and changing for the better. And one of my friends came up to me and he said to me, "What are you doing?" He's like, I want to get the results that you're getting. What are you doing? So I was talking to him about what I was studying and reading, and I was trying to explain what I was doing, but it was difficult to explain at that point. I didn't so much know that I understood what I was doing. But I said, well, if you're really interested, I'll buy you some copies of the books that I'm reading that are helping me with this, and I'll give them to you. And he was like, please do. Like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Like, please do. So I did. I went out and I bought copies of like 4 or 5 books that I had been reading that I thought would make the biggest difference for him. Next thing I know, his wife comes to my house with a bag that has those books in them. And she hands them to me and she says, he's a truck driver. He'll always be a truck driver. Don't you ever bring this shit into my house again, because he's never going to be anything other than he is, and how dare you even suggest that he could. And that was the last time I saw either one of them.
Wow. That makes me really sad and really sick at the same time, to think that this is the person that should have your back and love you the most, but is basically saying you're going to be this for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And he probably made that choice for her because he didn't expect to be able to get anybody better. Wow. Never saw him again. Man.
Never saw either one of them again.
Yeah.
And what was interesting was that he didn't come over.
Right.
She came over with the books. So I don't know what happened between them. I have no idea, but I never saw him again. And I had many experiences that were somewhat similar to that with various different people. And it was very interesting. I did not know how threatening that information could be to some individuals and the way that they were choosing to live their life. They wanted nothing to do with the truth.
So we have to be on the lookout for both of these things. Again, overwhelm, bright, shiny object syndrome. Let's take bright, shiny object syndrome first. Bright, shiny object syndrome is when you have set a goal, you have a vehicle, you're working in the vehicle, you've actually created a plan to bring in your wealth in your life, and all of a sudden, something shows up and says, hey, come over this way. It would be a lot easier if you did this, or it would be a lot easier if you changed that, or it would be a lot easier if you worked with someone else, or it would be a lot easier if you changed your program or changed your price or whatever. And in 99.9% of the time, it isn't any easier. Inherent in that idea, you can see its own dysfunction, and I'll tell you what it is. When we're doing something, when we're moving forward within a vehicle, and we're growing, and we're going for a specific result, in order to get the result, we need to grow. That's what brings the result in, our growth. So by the very nature of something coming along saying that it's going to be easier if you go a different way when you already have a sound plan, that's playing against your own subconscious mind with the idea that you don't have to grow.